Hello everyone. Let's start with introduction to IELTS. The examination can be divided into two parts. Part 1 consists of listening, reading and writing, and it will be conducted in a single sitting. And part 2 is speaking. It will be conducted separately. And in part 1 we have three sections, starting with listening, and next we have reading, and at the end we have writing. So the order is the same in the examination as well. You always start with listening, and once you're done with listening, you proceed to reading, and then at the end you will be writing the section. For listening, we have 30 minutes, and we have four sections, and in a total of 40 questions. And for reading, you have 60 minutes, and it is divided into three sections, and with a total of 40 questions again. And for writing, again 60 minutes. In this, you have only two sections. In first section, you need to write 150 words, and in the second section, you have to write 250 words. So the important point that you need to remember here is sections are in the order of increasing difficulty. What I mean by that, what I mean by this increasing difficulty means, as I mentioned here, we have four sections in listening. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the first section is the easiest one, and the fourth section is the toughest. It is in the increasing order of difficulty. So the first one is easy, second one is little tougher, third one is even more tough, and fourth one is the hardest one. Even for reading, the pattern is the same. For three sections, first is the easiest one, second one will be a little difficult, and the third one will be the hardest one. And for writing, the first section is a little bit easier compared to the second one because it's only 150 words, and the second one is you need to write 250 words. So don't make a mistake of allocating the time equally to all the sections. If you divide 30 minutes equally to four sections, you will end up uh, having a short of time in the last sections, at the later sections. So always complete the earlier sections as quickly as you can and proceed further. And one more point is, when you're booking an examination center, try to book the examination center as close to you as possible, because you might need to travel to the examination center twice if your part 1 and part 2 are scheduled in different dates. It is possible that you go to the examination center, you get done with your first part, listening, reading and writing, and you have your speaking test will be scheduled for the next day or some other day. So you might need to travel twice. And the speaking section will last about 15-20 minutes or even longer. It could be possible it could go longer. And it could be a face-to-face speaking test, or you will be asked to sit in a room, a quiet room, and you will be given a computer with a good earphones and speaker, and via Skype or other platform you will be taken this speaking test. So these are the marks and their corresponding bands for listening. For listening, if you want to score about 7 bands, you need to score 30 to 30, 31 to 30 marks out of 40 to score 7. And as you can see the scores and their corresponding bands. So these are the reading scores. This is academic and this is There are two types of IELTS examinations. One is academics, that's for students, and the other one is general training, which is usually for the professionals going abroad. So this is for general training. So yeah, there is a little variation among these scores and the corresponding marks in the reading section. So you can go through these things. And now coming to the writing part, unlike the reading or listening section where you will be marked right or wrong, but in when it comes to reading writing section, you will have different criteria in order to evaluate your answers, and perhaps they might be done manually, or uh, we never know how they are evaluated, but these are the criterias on which your answers will be evaluated. So they will focus on your grammar, your vocabulary, and your task achievement, whether you are answering the question that is asked or you are writing some imaginative answers, and your coherence and cohesion, meaning the flow of your answer, how good your answer is. There are situations where the universities will not mention about the bands, rather they'll come up with different naming, say C1, C2, B1, B2, especially the European universities. They mention they require a minimum of C1 in English. So the C1 means a minimum of 7 band. So this is the range for C1, as you can see here. So this is the correlation between the IELTS band and the CEFR scores like C, C1, C2, etc. It's a $1 million question. A lot of people ask whether IELTS is tough or not. Well, you need to judge it yourself. So these are the official data, official statistics from the IELTS website. People who score 7 band is 13, 7.5 is 9, 8 is 4%, 9 is almost 0, 8.5 is 1%. As you can clearly see here, 45% of the people are in this bracket. 6. Well, if you ask my opinion, IELTS is certainly tough if you lack preparation. If you did not prepare well, and then exam will be a shocker for you, even though you are good with English. Trust me. Okay, there's some few more common questions that are asked. How much time is required to prepare for IELTS? This is a very common question that people ask. You need to prepare at least for 2 weeks, 3 weeks a minimum, or if you have enough time, 30 to 40 days is the ideal time that you need to put in to score decent score in IELTS examination. That's a Considering your education is completely in English, you have all your basics right. So if you have enough time, then ideally you should go for 30 to 40 days. But if you're short of time, then you can also try attempting it with 2 or 3 weeks of preparation at bare minimum. And what is the best and reliable way to score high? So this is the best way to attempt the examination. To to score the highest possible in listening, first always focus on listening test, and then approach for the reading, and then writing. Why I ordered these sections in this particular order? Because the first part one, the first section, is majorly in your control. It's more or less predictable. You know what kind of questions that are going to come in the examination. You know how many questions will be there. You know what is the time bond that you have. You know what are your weak sections. You know what your strengths are. So most of them are in your control completely. But when it comes to speaking test, you never know what will be the question that the examiner will ask. You might stumble, and you might run out of thoughts when you're trying to answer the question. So speaking section is less predictable. So yeah, you can go shorter words when trying to come up with an answer, but the first part, the part one, is largely within your control. So always score a maximum number of points in the part one, and specifically in this order. Try to get as many points in the listening, and then comes the reading, and then comes writing. So it's easier to score in the listening, and the second easiest is reading, and the third one is writing. Because when you're writing, you might commit a lot of grammatical errors, or you might type some wrong words or typing mistakes or whatnot. Which one is better? We have both approaches, right? One is the computer based test, or you can also attempt it offline. It's a case to case scenario. Some people might find it comfortable going for a computer based test, some people find it comfortable with the offline test. But when you compare disadvantages and advantages of both the sections, you can decide it for yourself. For computer based test, earphones will be provided, and for offline test, they will not be provided. So that's a tricky part. When you're having earphones for the listening section, it's much easier to grasp the words that from the audio. It's much easier. And for computer test, in writing section, you can edit your answers, right? You can delete what you have already written and start from scratch if something goes wrong. And if you did some wrong choice of words, you can delete it and write, come up with a new word. But when you're doing it in offline mode, you cannot keep scribbling on your written answer, right? So it's difficult. People think it's when it comes to reading section, people think it's much easier to mark some important points in the reading section, highlight them to make it difficult, to make it easier to answer the questions. But that option of highlighting some lines in the paragraph in the reading section is also available in the online based test. So you need to try make use of those features when you're attempting the mock test, so that it will be easier for you in the actual exam. You need to try using all those features in your mock test, all the highlighting ones, all the deleting ones, everything. The computer based test, it's much easier to find a examination center close to your home or wherever you live. But for offline, there are very limited number of examination centers, and you might have to travel a little far from your home or your workplace. And also, as I mentioned earlier, the examination will be in two parts. Part one, which with the listening, reading, and writing, and part two for your speaking test. And if those are scheduled in 2 different days, you might have to travel twice. So make a decision accordingly. And computer based test results are much faster compared to offline test. Some important points: when you're practicing for IELTS examination, don't use all the materials, some random materials that are available on internet. Don't do that, because that's one of the mistake that I have committed while I was preparing for my examination. The materials that are randomly available across the internet, they are not exactly on the difficulty level of the actual examination. They are too easy sometimes, or too difficult, and both of the cases are not really good for your preparation. So you must go for trustworthy and good resources. Go for official IELTS mock tests which are provided in their official website. Or you will, when you book the examination slot for IELTS, you will be receiving a book with all the study material in it. So that book is the gold standard, I would say. Try attempting all the mock tests, all the practice exercises in the book. Those are the perfect level in according to the exam. So pick the right resources and don't waste your time in unnecessary ones. And while attempting the part 1, always try to finish the entire section in a single sitting, because in your actual examination, you once you start the part 1, that is listening, reading and writing, you get up from your position only once the entire part is done. So you need to get practiced with the same thing in while you are attempting your mock test. Don't just attend the listening section, or don't just write the reading section. Write them all together. Once you start the mock test, you need to start with listening, then reading and then writing in a single sitting, so that you will be used to sitting long hours while you are giving the actual examination. So this will helps you build the focus to stay longer in front of the screen, one of and attempting the sections one after other, because you need that endurance to perform well in the actual examination. And also, don't fall to this misleading promises that uh, join our coaching center and maybe in 1 week or 10 days we'll help you get 8 band or 9 band in IELTS examination. Don't fall to that misleading traps, because the span of 1 week or 10 days is just enough to get familiar with the examination pattern of IELTS. You just will get to know the types of questions that are asked, what are the different types of sections that we have. You will just get familiar with all the examination related information. That is all. Just in a week span, you hardly make any difference in your actual proficiency of English. It's impossible. You can just get familiar with the examination so that you perform well, and your IELTS score will reflect your true potential. That is all that you can do in a week span or 10 days. But if your English proficiency is already bad, by bad I mean 5 band or something, and you can hardly make any difference in just 1 week or 10 days, you must put in at least 1.5 months or 2 months to make any noticeable change in your scores, to score 6.5 or 7. If your current position is 5 or something, and in order to reach 7 band, you need to at least put in 2 months of preparation. That's a bare minimum. So don't fall into these traps. People who score 8 band or 8.5 band in a week or 10 days, the reason is it is possible for the candidates whose English is already good, and in week span they are not actually learning English, they are just getting familiar with the examination pattern. That is all that they are doing. And the fourth point, to accurately showcase your English proficiency IELTS examination, you need to practice. So if you lack adequate preparation, you will score much less than your actual proficiency. Your assume your actual proficiency is 7 or 8, but you did not prepare well for the examination. You did not practice enough questions, and you attempt the examination. You will end up scoring 6 or 6.5, although your actual potential is much higher. If you lack preparation, you will score less. So this is all for the introduction of IELTS examination. You can watch detailed videos on each section: listening, reading, writing and speaking, on in the further videos.